Hi, I'm Dina Lee. Today we're going to look at understanding my community. Customs and traditions. The city of Wichita has what's called the River Fest. It's a nationally known festival that is the second week of June, and it has all sorts of activities circulated and around the river and downtown Wichita where they do things. Then there's another event called Open Streets ICT, which has schools, well, not schools. It is a community event that closes areas of the Wichita and closes the streets, and you're allowed to ride your bicycle up and down the streets freely and walk and communicate with people, and they have street vendors and food trucks and all sorts of stuff to interact with. Wichita Public Schools has some customs and traditions that, North High School, that is the feeder pattern for my school. They have a signing the seniors sign the tower. They TP the school on the first day of school and the last day of seniors that they go to school. And then we have the whole school has a water festival where they compete with the different grade levels on activities that associate around the river, which is their school is right on the river. And then West High School, their students walk to their graduation. Some population statistics and characteristics. Wichita has 397,400 people, and we're known as the air capital of the world. Cessna, Beechcraft, Learjet, Spirit Aerosystems are our major employers, followed by USD 259. But all of those are aircraft companies. So when we had the economic downturn, we suffered that economically here in the city. Pizza Hut, we are known as the birthplace of Pizza Hut. Mr. Carney attended, and the original Pizza Hut is now on the campus of Wichita State University. Marshall Middle School has 480 students, 400 of which are Hispanic, and Wichita Public Schools educates 46,170 students, and 16,621 of those are Hispanic. And I'm going to talk about the Hispanic population a lot just because that is what my school primarily is. So how do we communicate? What are the communications? In Wichita, we have the three major telecast news companies, and we have a few local radio stations left. We have no newspaper, and we no longer have a local paper. It is printed in Kansas City and then trucked down here. If I go back to radio here real quick, we do have one local Hispanic radio station, and that is used a lot to communicate with the Hispanic families in our community. Our school uses the school website and social media as our primary contact with parents. And when we have our open houses and sixth grade orientation, we tell the parents all about that so that they know that, hey, this is how we're going to get a message out to you, as long as it's not an emergency. If it's an emergency, then we use the district robocall. Wichita Public Schools uses the media broadcasting companies, Facebook and Twitter as well. Community groups. Marshall has people that come in and help and support us, but when I started thinking about this, it is only when the teachers have gone out and gotten the help, with the exception of the avid tutors. So we have the Wichita Symphony, and our band and orchestra teacher went out and got support where people from the symphony come in and they tutor our children in band and orchestra instruments. Big Brothers and Big Sisters comes in and has lunch with students, the Bigs in School program. And then Sedgwick County ComCare is our local mental health service, community mental health provider, and they have a therapist, an attendant care worker, and a liaison in our building to help and assist the social emotional team at Marshall. Leadership within our organization and the city. The city has our mayor, Brandon Whipple. Then it has the city council, which there are 6 districts. So there's 6 additional council members. And then we have a city manager. And then we have a Rotary Club that provides a lot of help and support for the whole district. Wichita Chamber of Commerce provides a lot of help and support for our school district. Wichita Public Schools leadership looks like the superintendent and then the school board. And then at Marshall, we don't have a PTO. We've tried really hard over several years to get a parent organization community in. This last school year, we had 2 parents that wanted to try to get one going again because they're very active in their elementary school and they wanted to continue that as they moved into middle school. But due to quorum rules, we couldn't hold a PTO committee. So what they do is they just work together and bring in food for the school. The school has the building committee, leadership team, and then grade level teams. And that's how we share information with the principal or back and forth with staff members. Economic conditions of Wichita in 2023, it was a best city in a national ranking. It's a good place to live. Cost of living index is a 71, so that means that we are 29% cheaper to live here than in other areas of the country. Housing costs are 45% below the national average. So living in Wichita is a very easy, affordable thing to do. I always like to say that Wichita's in the middle of everything. The house that I can get here is so much better than the house I can get somewhere else. So instead of living there, I can just go visit places that are very neat. Our political structure, the city of Wichita has a mayor, the city council, and a city manager. And then the Sedgwick County has the Board of Commissioners and a county manager as well. And it's one of the only communities that I know of that has both the city council and a mayor, or the Board of County Commissioners and the county manager. So I find it strange for that. And then for Wichita Public Schools, we have our school board and our superintendent. Social tensions within the community are gang activities. The students do not get along in the community, but in the schools, we don't have any problems with them. That is some of the things that local community members have found interesting is that. And then we have an unwritten rule in Wichita that creates tension between East Siders and West Siders. East Siders don't generally go to the west side of town, and West Siders only come east if they want to do some of the cool shopping, because the East Side has the better shopping venues than what the West Side does. And then private versus public schools, and that's communication with people and families who send their students to private schools. They are just really afraid of what goes on in a public school. Previous community efforts to help and support the schools or the city. Wichita Public School passed a bond issue, and it was completed in 2005. And what that did was provided storm shelters for all the buildings and second gymnasiums for most buildings, and also auditoriums for schools that did not have them. So as an example, if a school received a new gymnasium, they received the building part of the gymnasium, but they did not receive air conditioning, and they did not receive the bleacher support for those. So what good does it do for them to have that extra building? Well, what they've done with that is then the schools had to do fundraising efforts to come up with the seating for the auditoriums and the bleachers. Marshall Middle School, we only received 2 rooms that we use for our choir room and our technology room, and we still only have 1 gym. We're the only middle school with 1 gym. In Wichita, Century 2 is a Frank Lloyd Wright building that the city is having difficulty maintaining and keeping up because it needs to be remodeled and have a lot of areas refurbished. And they were looking at what they wanted to do. Did they want to keep it or tear it down? And a community effort, Save Century 2, was taken into place, and they want to save the building and put it on as a historical landmark. It's a blue dome circular building that's set on the edge of the river, and most of Wichita's advertisements include this building, so you may have seen it. We just had a highway completion that allows for commuters to get to the west side of Wichita without traffic building up. There was a highway interchange that literally backed up for miles at the end of the day when people were going home from work. And then our Wichita public pools, they all received major vamping and updating within the last 2 years. And splash pads were added to the city as well. Who controls the power? Who's the decision makers? Well, for Wichita, it seems to be the city manager is the one who has the power and able to make decisions. And then when you go below that and you look at stuff for the city, the most recent thing is the golfing community. They were able to stop the sale of one of the public courses here in Wichita and convince the city to keep it and just change their management efforts to keep that golf course running and within a public nature. And so the golf community has a lot of pull here in Wichita. And then in Wichita Public Schools, the union and the at-large school board member have a lot of pull and power. At our middle school, our principal is favored right now within the community and within Wichita Public Schools. He the initiatives that he's done, the things that are going on, his voice is really listened to when things are happening and how things need to get done. So we're at a good place right now at our school. Multicultural issues. We have gotten rid of forced busing in Wichita Public Schools for the elementary schools, but the secondary schools, they still have a AAA area where students are divided up and go to different schools to help with segregating and desegregating of the population. And then our school has a dress code. We call it standardized dress. Our students are to wear navy or khaki pants and white, navy, or maroon shirts. One of the things that we've done differently at our school than they do at the other schools because of the socioeconomic status of our families is they can wear just a plain t-shirt as well. It does not have to be a collared shirt. It can be navy, white, or a maroon t-shirt without colors as long as there's no printing and it's solid. And then for our school also we have a language barrier because most of our parents only speak Spanish. Now some of the things that we've done for that is a large population of our staff does speak Spanish, and we've offered a Spanish class this last school year for our staff members who wanted to learn Spanish. Our principal paid us to get to go learn how to speak Spanish to help work with our community. So that was a good thing for us. Public opinion, and how do you help your public and change their mind about things? You say positives about the public schools. When you're in the grocery store and you start talking with somebody and you say, hey, I'm the school social worker at Marshall Middle School. Please come in and see what we are doing here. These are some of the initiatives. Invite the public in for activities. We had, when it was time for the bond issue that I mentioned earlier, our neighbor came over and he was talking with me because his kids went to parochial school. And he says, I really don't know what I want to do about this do I vote for this bond issue? And I said, yes, please do. Please come into our school and look at the windows and see the heating elements that are happening, how the rooms are such different temperatures. Come in and see how some of the rooms are too small, and there's students that are literally using the radiators for their stand-up desk and things like that. And so he came in and I gave him a tour of our building for him to see because he had only known the parochial schools. And so he said, okay, I'll vote for the bond issue. And so that's what I do. Anytime I get an opportunity, I ask people to come in. We are a school that has done a big turnaround with our test scores. And so we have students come in for our elementary school all the time to do tours and see what's going on. So from weakness to strength, and I'm sorry, I'm hurrying, for the community and Marshall, public opinion is a problem, and changing the current supports in your building to community and having teachers reach out for assistance, and with the exception that our local church has reached in and asked for support, how they could support us, and then changing public opinion is just by doing exposure. So thank you for paying attention to my presentation today.